The story opens with Ryu awakening from what feels more like a nightmare than a dream. In his vision, he saw a boy and a girl apologizing for leaving him behind. Since he's just a beast tamer, Ryu can't fight alongside them on their journey. They tell him to stay behind and take care of the animals instead. His hand had reached out desperately, begging them to wait for him. Even now, lying in his bed, Ryu realizes his dream was so vivid that his hand had actually extended in reality, just like in the dream. His day begins as usual, heading out to feed the cows. Being a beast tamer does have its advantages, like this particular cow that affectionately nuzzles him in gratitude for the food. Soon, a girl arrives carrying a cat in her arms. She calls out to Ryu, thanking him for taking such good care of her pet. Thanks to Ryu's care, the cat is doing wonderfully now. Hearing this, Ryu happily gives the cat some gentle pets. The girl is genuinely impressed by Ryu's abilities as a beast tamer. Not only does he run his own ranch, but he also provides medical checkups for animals from outside the area. Ryu laughs off the compliment, but internally, being a beast tamer was never really his first choice. Once someone's profession is determined at the church, there's no changing it. Ryu was assigned the role of beast tamer, which is why he now runs a ranch. His two childhood friends, however, received much more exciting roles. One was labeled as a hero's egg, and began training with the knights to eventually become a full hero. The other became a mage and started studying magic at the church's magical academy. Eventually, both achieved great success and set off on a journey to save the world. Sound familiar? Yes, this matches exactly what Ryu dreamed about. Lost in these troubled thoughts, Ryu doesn't realize his grip on the pitchfork has tightened, and he's no longer paying attention to what the girl is saying. When she calls his name to get his attention, Ryu jumps slightly and apologizes for being distracted. The girl then continues chatting, mentioning that his two childhood friends are actually returning to town soon. After finishing his work, Ryu finally takes a break and ventures into the forest. He yawns and stretches his aching muscles, then remembers dreaming about his friends coming back, and now they actually are returning. Taking a trip down memory lane, Ryu recalls how he used to play with his two friends almost constantly. It wasn't long before his friends had to leave to train in their respective specialties. That's when Ryu started using his beast tamer skills to play with dogs and cats, or help hunters care for their hounds. A thought crosses his mind. If only he had tamed a legendary beast like a Fenrir, maybe then Ryu would have had a chance to keep up with his friends. Shaking his head, Ryu calls this thought ridiculous. Moments later, he hears something rustling in the nearby bushes. Ryu quickly goes to investigate, wondering what it could be since no one usually comes to this area of the forest. Initially, Ryu thinks it might be a person, but he's about to get the shock of his life. It's actually a wolf, a beautiful black wolf. Ryu is completely mesmerized by its beauty, but then something catches his attention. There's a trap clamped onto the wolf's leg. Kneeling down, Ryu extends his hand to help free the wolf from the trap. However, the wolf starts thrashing and growling, eventually biting onto Ryu's arm. Fortunately, Ryu is wearing thick gloves. Ryu immediately places his other hand on the wolf, telling it to calm down. He quickly removes the trap from the wolf's leg and searches for a healing potion in his pockets. All the while, the wolf just stares at Ryu, as if observing his every action. Once he finds the potion, Ryu wastes no time pouring it onto the wolf's injured leg. He then gently tells the wolf to go ahead and leave, remembering that he also has work to finish. Ryu gets up and heads back as well. Later that night, lying in his bed, Ryu wonders if the wolf from earlier made it back safely to its pack. He hopes the wolf doesn't end up alone like he is. Ryu lets out a big yawn, wanting to sleep since it's already late. But how can he possibly sleep when he has an unexpected guest sitting on his windowsill? Ryu jolts upright in bed when he hears something greeting him with good evening and commenting on what a lovely moon they have tonight. He silently agrees with the wolf. In his mind, Ryu confirms this is the same wolf from earlier. But wait, did it just speak? So this creature isn't actually a wolf, but a monster. The creature explains that it came because it has a question for him. Ryu starts panicking internally. If this beast can speak human language, then it's definitely a higher tier species. When Ryu says he'll answer the question if he's able to, the creature appreciates his honesty. Ryu knows that if he makes one wrong move, he'll be dead in seconds. The creature then asks why Ryu chose to help it and even used a valuable potion to heal its leg earlier in the forest. Ryu is in crisis mode right now. He definitely can't say that the creature reminded him of himself. It would see right through him and kill him instantly. A startled Ryu is brought back to reality when the creature tells him to hurry up with his answer. Patience isn't exactly its strong suit. Closing his eyes, Ryu decides to take a risk and says he helped the creature because he thought it was beautiful. The creature's jaw drops, and it becomes even more flabbergasted when Ryu adds that he thought it would be such a waste to let something so beautiful die. The creature can't contain itself any longer and bursts into laughter. It's lived for so long, but this is the first time it's heard such a ridiculous reason for helping someone. Covering its mouth, the creature calls Ryu one of a kind. Out of all the humans it has encountered, Ryu is top tier, a rare find. So Ryu helped for no personal gain? The creature is impressed. It asks for Ryu's name, saying it has taken a liking to him. It even tells Ryu he doesn't need to be so formal. After Ryu gives his name, the creature suddenly announces that Ryu belongs to it starting right now, and no objections are allowed. Ryu is completely dumbfounded and asks what it means by belonging to the creature. It means exactly what it sounds like. Since Ryu doesn't seem to understand the situation, the creature explains that it's taking Ryu home as its pet. Yes, Ryu is now the creature's pet. Before Ryu can react violently, the creature suddenly transforms into its true form. Gone is the small, seemingly harmless wolf. Now Ryu is staring at a massive Fenrir that also destroys his rooftop in the process. Well, be careful what you wish for, Ryu. The Fenrir then takes Ryu in its mouth and flies off into the deep forest, leaving Ryu's home completely destroyed. Arriving at their destination, the Fenrir drops Ryu to the ground. That was definitely one of the most uncomfortable means of transportation ever. The moon glows brightly in the forest, and Ryu is mesmerized by the view. But it's not the moon that has his attention. Ryu is standing below a cliff, and above him is a pack full of angry Fenrirs. Among them stands a massive one, proud and strong. This must be their leader. There must be at least 30 pack members present right now, and all the Fenrirs have one thing in common. They're all glaring at Ryu. Let's hope this isn't the end for him. The leader finally speaks, addressing Ryu's kidnapper as his daughter. The leader then asks why his daughter brought a human to their home. After the daughter tells her father that she liked Ryu, the leader becomes absolutely furious. That's not a valid reason for him. Shifting his anger toward Ryu, the leader asks the beast tamer where he met his daughter. Knowing full well he's being targeted, Ryu quickly responds that they met at the ranch where he works. The leader barks another question, asking exactly how the two met. Ryu honestly explains that he saved her when she got caught in a trap. This time the leader seems suspicious, telling the beast tamer that his daughter can break human traps instantly, so why would she need saving? Ryu shouts with all his heart, explaining that the Fenrir's daughter told him it was just a game she plays, pretending to be caught. The Fenrir leader's anger subsides, obviously disappointed that this is happening again. Before the situation escalates further, the Fenrir's daughter speaks up once more. She tells her father that Ryu is a beast tamer who can perform medical diagnosis on beasts and animals. She believes that her grandfather, the Fenrir elder, can be cured. The Fenrir leader is skeptical of his daughter's claims, saying the elder's condition is simply due to old age, and no human can save him from death. But the Fenrir's daughter argues that the elder's illness is actually from a lack of magical energy, and she reveals that she's the reason why. Hearing their conversation, Ryu manages to understand what's happening within this pack. The elder, the original boss of the Fenrirs, is basically dying, and Ryu got kidnapped because she wants to save her grandfather. Seeing this as his opportunity, Ryu interrupts their argument and asks to examine the grandfather Fenrir so he can diagnose it. However, the Fenrir leader screams bloody murder at Ryu, refusing to let him see the old Fenrir. Pointing to the Fenrir's daughter, Ryu tells the leader that his daughter wants to save her grandfather. Ryu then makes a reasonable argument, telling the Fenrir leader that there's no harm in letting him examine the old Fenrir. If it's really dying from old age, then Ryu will gladly step back. There's no harm in trying, right? The Fenrir's daughter looks at Ryu, seemingly touched by the tamer's words. The Fenrir leader then allows Ryu to conduct his medical examination on the old Fenrir, pessimistically telling Ryu it's only a waste of time. They all approach a large tree, and inside it lies a disheveled Fenrir that looks like it has been through hell and back. The Fenrir's daughter wakes the elder Fenrir, but before she can formally introduce Ryu, the tamer holds up his hand, signaling her to stay quiet. Ryu extends his hand and introduces himself, also telling the elder Fenrir that he's there to treat its illness since it's his granddaughter's wish to save him. Coming out of the tree hollow, the elder Fenrir slowly stands up and tells Ryu that no ordinary human can cure his disease. But Ryu is confident that he can. However, healing the elder Fenrir won't benefit him personally, so Ryu wants to make a deal. All the other Fenrirs are shocked by Ryu's bold request. The Fenrir leader is furious now, calling Ryu a lowly human and traitor. He wants to kill him right then and there. The Fenrir's daughter steps in to defend Ryu, asking her father to wait. Meanwhile, the elder Fenrir asks Ryu if he really believes he can cure him. A confident Ryu replies yes. When asked what he wants in return, Ryu tells the elder that he wants to become stronger. Curious, the elder Fenrir asks why. The beast tamer explains that he has the same reason as the elder's granddaughter. She wanted to save the elder but couldn't do anything, so she came to Ryu for help. That alone shows how desperately she wants to save her grandfather. Ryu knows how frustrating it is to feel powerless, remembering how he was left behind by his closest friends. The elder then makes his decision, accepting Ryu's deal. Ryu takes off one of his gloves, All the elder Fenrir needs to do now is bite into Ryu's arm and drink his blood. Scoffing, the Fenrir leader calls Ryu's so-called cure complete nonsense. The elder hesitates for a second, but Ryu encourages him to try. When the elder finally sinks his fangs into Ryu's arm, a powerful burst of energy surges throughout the elder. It's so powerful that even the Fenrir leader and his daughter can barely brace themselves. As soon as the elder releases Ryu's arm, the beast tamer cries out dramatically from the pain of the bite. The Fenrir's daughter is confused and surprised by Ryu's level of magical power. No beast tamer could ever be this powerful. At this rate, he's even stronger than a hero. This isn't shocking to Ryu at all. He already knows about his magical power, and he has his reasons. To put it simply, Ryu has way too much magical energy for his body to handle. If he went all out, his body would literally explode. In other words, his magic is so powerful that he can't use it properly under normal circumstances. Magic typically grows as a person undergoes training and discipline, but Ryu hit the jackpot because he was born with it. As he got older, it only increased more. Somehow, it's a waste of potential since Ryu can't properly utilize it. Meanwhile, the elder Fenrir is completely transformed. He's not the old, frail Fenrir from before. Now the elder is full of vigorous energy. To say that Ryu's magic helped would be an understatement. The elder somehow received a complete upgrade. The Fenrir's daughter immediately runs toward her grandfather to give him a warm embrace. She's truly happy to see that her grandfather is nowhere near death anymore. The elder then turns to Ryu, remembering their deal. He tells Ryu that he'll start training with the Fenrir pack. Ryu doesn't know if this is acceptable, especially since there are those who oppose it. Exhibit A. The Fenrir leader, who is reacting viciously to the elder's decision. There are also others saying that Ryu is far too suspicious, especially with his power. They believe his power might be used against the pack and put everyone in danger. When one Fenrir suggests they kill Ryu now, the elder barks for them to shut up. The atmosphere suddenly turns dark as the elder shows his displeasure with the pack's insubordination. Anger surges through the elder as he asks the pack where they got the audacity to say they'll kill the man who saved his life. The pack whimpers and bows in fear. Even Ryu is getting scared by the elder's anger. Whispering, Ryu asks the Fenrir's daughter who exactly the elder is. She casually tells Ryu that the elder is actually the very first Fenrir. Through training and evolution, the elder became what he is now. No wonder the elder is so powerful. The atmosphere soon returns to normal, and the elder asks Ryu for his decision. The beast tamer is still uncertain. Will he really be able to control his magic if he trains with the pack? The elder then tells Ryu he'll need a lot of power and determination to succeed. Ryu will live and eat with the Fenrirs in the forest. Eventually, he'll break through his human limits and become strong enough to wield his magic properly. But this comes with an ultimate price. It may all sound easy, but it isn't. Ryu might die trying, and he knows this. The only thing comforting him is the thought of being reunited with his friends. If he can be with his friends again, then he'll gladly take the risk. Determined, the beast tamer confirms his decision to train with the Fenrirs. The elder then presents Ryu with a fong. Not just any fong, but the elder's own fong. Ryu is absolutely stunned upon learning it's a Fenrir fong. It's an insanely rare and valuable item. The elder explains that the fong will help Ryu control his magic. The Fenrir's daughter then interrupts, saying she'll take care of some things too. Gripping the fong, Ryu's goal now is to get stronger so he can catch up with his friends. This marks the start of a new chapter in Ryu's life. A month passes quickly, and Ryu is already getting the hang of his hellish training. Right now, he's in the middle of battling a pig-headed demon beast. These beasts have very predictable movements, and Ryu has figured out all their patterns. First, dodge the club attack. When an opening appears, slice its arm. While it's stunned by the pain, go for the leg. When it loses balance, aim for the neck. There you go, pig-headed beast elimination 101. After defeating it, Ryu turns to tell the Fenrir's daughter, who's actually called Matey, that he's killed one beast. On Matey's side, well, she's just yawning while lying on a pile of pig-headed demon beasts she just finished. Seems Ryu was too slow, so Matey ended up taking care of the rest. Just what you'd expect from a Fenrir. After training, they start a bonfire to cook something to eat. Ryu is exhausted from training. While munching, Ryu grumbles about the training. He can definitely handle low-level monsters now, but he still has a long way to go. He's definitely gotten stronger since he started. Matey even recalls Ryu's first day of training. He could barely dodge a pig-headed beast's attack, and now he's able to defeat one. After a solid month of being beaten up by a pack of Fenrirs, that would definitely strengthen anyone's training. He got chased by Fenrirs to build stamina. He learned survival skills like starting a fire, which was rough even for Matey. They almost died of hunger in the forest. Ryu also ate mildly poisonous berries to build poison resistance. That wasn't fun either. It felt more like he was adapting to survive rather than getting stronger. Taking out the elder's fong, Ryu is still happy about receiving this gift. It's unbelievably sharp. Meidi boasts about her grandfather with obvious pride. Realizing it just now, Ryu thinks it's also pretty significant that the elder's granddaughter is looking after him. Ryu's train of thought is interrupted when Meidi brings up what really happened to her grandfather. Her demeanor suddenly drops as she remembers how she pestered the elder for a name. Naming a magical beast involves giving part of one's soul and a massive amount of magical power. The elder attempted the naming ritual but suffered from magical power depletion. Ryu tries comforting Meidi, giving her a gentle pat on the head. She did everything she could to save her grandfather. The elder even told Meidi not to worry about it anymore. He would be much happier to see Meidi smiling rather than sulking. A Fenrir then interrupts, rushing to call Meidi. Apparently, the elder has a message for them. But before the Fenrir can deliver it, it looks at Ryu with obvious hostility. After giving Ryu a snarky greeting, it tells him that the elder wishes to discuss his training. It then orders Ryu to head over to the elder without keeping him waiting. Arriving at the giant tree, both Ryu and Meidi greet the elder. Almost immediately, Ryu voices his concerns about the elder showing him so much favor. This much attention from the elder has many pack members unhappy about it. Even that messenger was glaring daggers at Ryu. Laughing heartily, the elder tells Ryu not to worry about such things. It won't matter because the elder is the one who brought Ryu here to train. Besides, the rest of the pack will soon have to acknowledge Ryu as a true member. With deadly seriousness, the elder announces Ryu's upcoming trial. A show of strength is the quickest solution for those harboring discontent about Ryu's presence. If he overcomes this trial, he will become a true member of the Fenrir pack. Ryu initially shows a split second of fear, but then remembers his goal and asks what his trial involves. The elder then orders Ryu to hunt a cockatrice, the rooster-fiend bird. There's only one condition. Ryu must hunt the beast alone. Hearing this, Ryu becomes worried. A cockatrice is a top-tier beast. Even B-rank guild adventurers hunt them in parties. But the elder wants a novice like him to hunt it alone. It's completely insane. Meidi asks her grandfather if she can offer assistance, but the elder quickly refuses. This trial will serve as a catalyst for Ryu's greatest growth. Tackling this trial alone will define the true nature of his training and hard work. Besides, the elder has noticed that Ryu hasn't really mastered the power of the Fang yet. Ryu stares at the Fang in his hands. He only knows it's sharp, but there's more to it than meets the eye. The Fang can easily channel magical power. Ryu needs to learn to trust his own power to the Fang and convey his will. Then the path will open before him. If Ryu can realize this, then hunting a cockatrice will be a walk in the park. Ryu might not understand it now, but he will soon. The elder then informs Ryu that his trial will be at sunset and tells him to rest until then. The time finally comes for Ryu's trial. Both he and Meidi are currently hiding in the bushes, observing a cockatrice as it petrifies a passing animal. It then steps on the animal's stone figure and screeches into the night. This looks bad. Look at that cockatrice. It has evil eyes that can petrify you with just one look, and its tail is a venomous snake. Yes, a snake for a rear end. It's literally a serious pain in the butt. The only silver lining Ryu can think of is that the cockatrice has poor bird-like eyesight and a narrow field of vision. Ryu also hopes it can't fly. Chickens don't fly, right? Meidi asks how Ryu is feeling right now. He quickly replies that he's not okay, not even slightly, but he has no choice but to do this. Ryu then stands up to head out and get this over with. Meidi tells him to be careful not to die or get turned to stone. He'll definitely try. Hiding behind a tree, Ryu devises a plan to reduce the number of attacks he'll face. Confronting both the main body and the snake tail simultaneously is risky, so right now he plans to attack just one part. He changes his mind and quickly lunges for the snake tail, slicing it in half. The cockatrice bellows in pain, but Ryu isn't finished yet. He dashes for the cockatrice's legs to stop the main body from moving, but before Ryu can slice its legs, it manages to flick him to the side and runs away. Nobody said this was going to be easy. Ryu can't stop now though. Seeing that the beast has lost sight of him, he plans to attack the cockatrice at its blind spot. He aims for an opening behind the beast's head, jumping onto it, but before Ryu can successfully land his attack, the cockatrice flies toward the sky. Yes, you heard correctly. Can fly. At least this chicken can fly. Flabbergasted, Ryu wasn't expecting such a turn of events, and now he's cornered. His attacks can't reach the cockatrice now that it's up there. While Ryu plans to wait for the cockatrice to come down, it suddenly flaps its wings and sends out a slicing attack at him. He barely manages to dodge the attacks while the surrounding trees are already cut to pieces. From the side, Meidi worriedly asks if Ryu is all right. He is, somehow, but that gust of wind did manage to slice Ryu's skin on his arm. Ryu didn't expect this beast to be able to use magic as well. Flying and magical power are not a good combination. The cockatrice is still in the air, waiting for Ryu to show himself. The tamer is still trying to devise a plan B. It would be great if he had a long-range attack, but Ryu's magic can barely help with his daily chores and is completely useless for combat. Or so he thought. He remembers the Fang in his hands. Staring at it, he also recalls what the elder told him about the Fang being a catalyst for his magical power. Could it be possible for him to launch attacks like the cockatrice did earlier? The cockatrice screeches once more, having found Ryu's hiding place. It then flaps another attack at Ryu, slicing through the trees. Ryu has no choice but to try the elder's advice from earlier. Either way, if he doesn't do something, he's dead meat. Stopping in his tracks and closing his eyes, Ryu channels his magical power toward the Fang. His magical power swells as Ryu becomes surrounded by some kind of light. Even Meidi notices the power surge from Ryu. In his mind, Ryu forces himself to relax and channel magical power into the Fang little by little. He pictures highly concentrated energy gathering at the tip of the Fang, and when it's charged to its absolute limit, he fires it. Ryu fires it directly at the incoming cockatrice. Ryu's attack is so powerful it manages to slice through the cockatrice's head while it's still in the air. The cockatrice then lands on the ground with a loud thud, completely headless. Looking at the cockatrice's lifeless body, Ryu can't believe it actually worked. Meidi finally comes out from hiding, congratulating Ryu for successfully clearing his trial. Before Ryu can finish expressing how glad he is, he collapses to the ground from pure exhaustion. He slowly apologizes to Meidi and tells her he's going to sleep for a while. Of all places, Ryu had to fall asleep here. Well, Meidi understands and just stays with him. With eyes closed, Ryu is happy the trial is finally over and he can rest. He then feels a hand on his hair, causing him to open his eyes slightly. He definitely felt a human hand, but he's the only human there. Before Ryu finally gives in to his tiredness, he catches a glimpse of a girl. His consciousness finally fades as he goes into deep slumber. From the elder's point of view, it really is a girl beside Ryu. She even tells him to rest well. As Meidi watches over Ryu, she tells him how splendidly he performed in his trial, congratulating him once more for becoming a member of the pack. As soon as Ryu wakes up from his sleep, he's instantly greeted by a strange show of affection from the pack members. Everyone wants to play with him. Some are even offering dead rabbits as meals, and there are those who want to join Ryu in his training. The pack members are now competing for Ryu's attention, which Ryu doesn't know how to respond to. Meidi approaches Ryu and tells him the good news about passing the trial. Ever since that day, Ryu has become super popular. It does make Ryu happy, but it's not easy getting swarmed by Fenrirs all day, every day. Even his body and clothes are a mess. Meidi calls this an upgrade. Everyone acknowledges him now, and Ryu has improved in hunting too. There's still one Fenrir who can't fully accept Ryu though. The Fenrir leader, also known as Oyaji, still won't acknowledge Ryu as a pack member. Right now, he's hiding behind a tree while staring daggers at Ryu. His energy radiates pure hatred that Ryu can feel from afar. Suddenly, Meidi's mother calls Oyaji from behind. She angrily steps on her husband's head, putting a stop to his childish behavior. She also scolds Oyaji for setting a bad example for his subordinates. Looking at the scene, Ryu can't help but feel pity for Oyaji. The Fenrir mother really shows no mercy. After all, she holds a higher position than Oyaji since she's from the elder's true bloodline. Anyway, Ryu changes the topic back to his worn-out clothes. Because of everything he's been through, Ryu's clothes are now at their limit. It would be nice if he could buy new ones in town. Meidi suggests using monster fur instead, but the problem is Ryu doesn't have the skills to make clothes. Plus, whether he buys them or asks someone to make them, Ryu still needs money either way. He has to go to town for it. Meidi then suggests they ask her grandfather for help. A now beaten-up Oyaji stops Ryu from his plans, accusing the tamer of planning to sell information to the humans. Mother Fenrir isn't happy at all. Ryu understands Oyaji's concerns though. If information about the Fenrirs leaks, it'll put the whole pack in danger. Thinking about it, this won't be an easy task to deal with. Meanwhile, Meidi asks her grandfather if he has any human acquaintances they can approach. The elder gives it some thought, but before he can think of anyone, grandmother Fenrir arrives and reminds the elder of someone who isn't necessarily human. The elder then remembers who his wife is referring to. The elder then tells Ryu about a dwarf who happens to be his acquaintance. Dwarves may be short, but they're incredibly strong and skilled with their hands. As long as they have the materials, they can surely make Ryu some clothes. The elder's acquaintance lives in the land of the dwarves. If he asks personally, they should agree to help Ryu. With this information, Ryu happily thanks the elder. Oyaji interrupts once more, warning the elder that Ryu might speak to humans along the way and betray the pack. Grandmother Fenrir then suggests they send Meidi with Ryu to keep an eye on things. This doesn't sit well with Oyaji, but it's high time Meidi saw more of the world. Grandmother Fenrir then asks both Ryu and Meidi if the idea is okay with them. They both agree. Meidi kind of blushes and avoids eye contact with Ryu. Seems like our girl has a little crush on the beast tamer. Oyaji disagrees with his mother-in-law's plan in dismay. His face meets a loud smack from his wife. The women of the pack quickly change the subject while Oyaji is knocked out on the side. Grandmother and Mother Fenrir both tell Meidi that she needs to look extra cute. Ryu can't really hear this part, but he's getting suspicious about why they're in such a good mood. The elder then catches Ryu's attention, telling him about a handy spell for carrying materials. The elder will teach him the spell so he can carry monster materials that Ryu can sell for the cash he'll need. Holding a hand to his chest, Ryu is thankful to have managed to work something out. The land of the dwarves, here they come. After a while, Ryu finally has everything he needs for the journey. He's managed to use the storage magic the elder taught him to pack up the materials he gathered during yesterday's hunt. He's only missing one more thing before departing for the land of the dwarves. He then asks Mother Fenrir about the whereabouts of Grandmother Fenrir and Meidi. Mother Fenrir tells him they'll be arriving soon, and she's sure Ryu will be very surprised. Script Part 2 paraphrased version. Shortly after Grandmother Fenrir announces their arrival, Ryu turns toward them and is taken aback by the beautiful girl standing beside her. He's puzzled about why another human would be in the forest besides himself. Blushing, the girl asks Ryu what he thinks of her appearance, which only confuses him more. She knows his name, yet her voice sounds strangely familiar. The pieces start clicking together in Ryu's mind, and he realizes this must be Meidi. She gives her grandmother an enthusiastic high five for the successful human transformation, which should help her blend in better with humans. Come to think of it, Ryu recalls the girl he glimpsed after defeating the cockatrice and now understands it was Meidi all along. From Meidi's perspective, she's been practicing transformation magic for quite some time. She's always dreamed of appearing human and exploring the world alongside Ryu. Initially, Meidi could only maintain the spell briefly, but since her mother and grandmother taught her the magical technique yesterday, she can now transform at will. Approaching Ryu, the elder requests a favor, that he give Meidi a proper name. This surprises Ryu because it would mean Meidi forming a contract with him. The elder believes it's possible since Ryu's magical power is exceptionally strong. Concern crosses Ryu's face, as naming a magical being like her would make her his familiar. While there are benefits such as telepathy and shared special abilities, this isn't something to do impulsively. Understanding Ryu's hesitation, the elder reassures him that both he and Meidi fully comprehend what this means. After all, the elder owes Ryu his life, and after everything they've experienced together in the forest, he knows he can trust his granddaughter to Ryu. Naming her has long been her desire, and she truly wishes to receive it from him. Looking at Meidi, Ryu finally agrees to form a contract with her. He places his hand above her forehead, and light begins to glow. The contract will be sealed once Ryu speaks the name he chooses for her, and she gladly accepts it. Closing his eyes, Ryu gives Meidi her proper name. She is now known as Ruri. The naming ritual succeeds as Ruri accepts her new name, repeating it over and over. This makes Ryu second-guess whether it's good enough for her, as he only wanted something simple. Happiness radiates from Ruri's face, as she thanks Ryu for the perfect name. She then eagerly grabs Ryu's hand so they can finally head toward the land of the dwarfs. Ruri bids farewell to her grandpa, grandma, and mother, leaving her father feeling completely abandoned. On their journey, both Ryu and Ruri are having a wonderful time. She gets to see new places, eat human food, and even experience sleeping on Ryu's shoulder. At one point, Ruri asks about dwarf country. Ryu only repeats what the elder told him. It's a nation at the foot of a mountain mine that grew prosperous by making weapons and armor. Ryu believes they're almost there, but he wants to voice something that's been bothering him. It's somewhat difficult to say, but he needs to express it. Blushing, Ryu tells her she's being a bit too close. Like right now, Ruri has her arms wrapped around Ryu's arm, and that kind of closeness makes him feel self-conscious. He then mentions that Ruri wasn't this clingy back in the forest. In Ruri's defense, she had to act serious in front of everyone. She's always wanted to be affectionate with Ryu. Seeing Ruri's thoughtful expression, Ryu gives her a pat on the head, which she really enjoys. In Ryu's mind, he never realized Ruri is actually quite clingy. Ryu really can't take a hint at all. They soon arrive at dwarf country, but before they can enter its enormous walls, Ryu asks Ruri if she could change into her wolf form. Without an identification card to show the guards, it would cause problems for Ruri. Showing his card, Ryu explains how most countries require identification upon entering. If Ruri's in human form, they might get caught at the checkpoint. If she's in wolf form, Ryu can tell them she's his familiar. Releasing the spell, Ruri transforms back into her wolf form. They then start walking toward the line to enter the country. Ryu calls the attention of a man ahead of him to ask if they're in the correct line for immigration inspection. The man confirms this and asks if it's Ryu's first time in the country. They strike up a conversation, with Ryu explaining his plans to sell some monster materials and have some clothes made. The man agrees that Ryu came to the right place, as there are many skilled craftsmen here. Their conversation is interrupted when a guard calls them to step forward for inspection. Before doing so, the man introduces himself as Mark, a traveling merchant who believes they'll meet again somewhere inside the country. When it's finally Ryu's turn, the inspector asks about his purpose in the country. Ryu explains that he's there to sell some materials and also wants some tailoring work for new clothes. After hearing this, the inspector asks if he's registered with the Merchant Guild. Unfortunately, Ryu isn't a member, but he tells the inspector he thought of selling the materials through the Adventurers Guild instead. The inspector then asks to see the materials for a simple check. Ryu happily complies and takes out the hide he's kept in his storage magic. The inspector seems surprised by the materials and asks Ryu to wait a moment before leaving to discuss something with the dwarfs from the guard post. The dwarf from the guard post tells Ryu they need to talk briefly. Taking Ryu to the guard post, the dwarf explains that Ryu's detention is only because they would really like to purchase the hides for the country. Yes, for the country. Apparently, upon checking the materials, the dwarf can confirm these hides are high-quality materials for sure. The higher-ups want to buy them for the country, but Ryu already has plans to meet with the elder's acquaintance first, so he tells the dwarf something to that effect. Ryu wants the craftsman of this country to examine the materials first. Curious, the dwarf asks who this craftsman is. Ryu casually replies by saying the craftsman's name, Dwar Crown. The dwarfs are left speechless, and silence fills the room. Noticing their reaction, Ryu asks if Dwar Crown is famous or something. He then explains that he was just introduced to him by an old man he knows. Famous is a mild term to use. The dwarf then tells Ryu that the craftsman he's looking for, Dwar Crown, is actually the king of this country. Fall Crown. Mind blown. After being released, Ryu can't wrap his head around what he just learned. He never thought the elder's acquaintance would be the king. Using their newly acquired telepathic ability, Ruri asks him what their plans are now. Ryu gets startled by this, forgetting about telepathy between familiars. Anyway, Ryu informs her that they'll go see the king after going to the guild to exchange the materials they can sell. Ryu hears his name being called and sees its Mark waiting for him to finish the inspection. Scratching the back of his head, Ryu apologizes for the wait and explains how it took time to check the materials he has. When Ryu asks where the Adventure Guild is, Mark politely leads them in the direction of the place. This merchant is also interested to see what kind of materials Ryu has. It was actually quite close to the country's gate. Once inside, Mark explains that it was designed to be close enough so completed quests can be reported directly at the guild once the adventurer enters the country's gates. Giving Ryu a tour, Mark gladly shows him the different areas of the guild, such as the reception area. In the back, there are 3 reception desks total, consisting of the general reception for non-guild members to submit requests, the adventurer reception where adventurers report or complete requests, and the purchase reception where they buy monster or animal materials unrelated to quests. Since Ryu is there to sell his materials, he'll go to the purchase reception for that. That's exactly what Ryu does. He doesn't waste time and quickly retrieves a piece of low-grade material from his storage. As for the high-grade ones, Ryu will reserve those for the king's eyes. Ryu finally gets the material from his storage, announcing he wants to sell this giant boar's hide. The receptionist quickly heads to the back and asks Ryu to wait for a moment. Many bystanders are in awe of Ryu's material. Even Mark asks where Ryu got the hide from. People start gathering around Ryu, giving compliments for such an amazing hide. It's quite rare to see such a big catch, plus of superb quality. A humble Ryu isn't used to such attention, telling the crowd it's just boar's hide. But Mark refuses to call it just boar's hide when a giant boar is actually an A-rank monster. Ryu never knew a giant boar is an A-rank beast, so he doesn't really know how to react. Living in the Great Forest must have messed up Ryu's sense of reality. The receptionist finally returns to tell Ryu that they're willing to pay him 62 gold coins. Jaw-dropping information, 62 gold coins is enough to live comfortably for a while, so it's no joking amount. Ryu recovers from his reaction, telling the receptionist he's fine with the amount. Getting the bag of gold coins, the receptionist thanks Ryu for the successful deal. Everyone is thrilled for Ryu. One person even hugs him since it's the first time he's seen such a huge amount of money just from selling materials. Another even comments that Ryu might become an exclusive merchant for the country or even become an S-rank adventurer. Thinking about it, Ryu can't seem to wrap his head around the idea of being strong. Now he's strong enough to defeat monsters that are rare and valuable. Ruri, who's been listening to Ryu's thoughts, lifts her chin up proudly, telling him she's the reason why he's become stronger. Anyway, Ryu and Ruri finally have the money needed for his clothes. Now they just need to go meet the king. Hopefully, nothing goes wrong. Meanwhile, at the castle, a guard hurries to report to Lord Dwar about a man who wants the king to examine some monster materials. Not just any materials, but super valuable materials like the hide of an A-rank monster. The guard calls it suspicious, asking the king what he wants them to do with the man. The king then orders the guard to bring Ryu to the castle tomorrow, thinking Ryu might be of good use to them. No matter what, they must bring Ryu to the king. Smells like trouble, don't you think? After a long day, Ryu and Ruri found themselves a nice inn to stay at. The owner is even kind enough to wash Ryu's clothes. She also patched up the torn parts of his clothes, especially the part around the sleeve. Ryu is grateful for the owner's kind gesture, especially for letting him borrow some pajamas. When Ryu first came to the inn, the owner really thought he was either a vagrant or a robber, judging by his clothes. She wonders how someone could be doing to have his clothes in such a state. Dryly laughing, Ryu doesn't answer her. What is he supposed to say? That he's been training with Fenrir. Ruri confirms their destination for today, which is the castle. Ryu did promise the guard post yesterday when the king's messenger arrived at a very inconvenient moment. The messenger, aside from relaying the king's message, also introduced the inn to Ryu. But the adventurers at the guild took it as a direct summon from the king, saying Ryu must be a total celebrity and all. They soon arrive at the castle with guards lined up all the way to the doors leading toward the throne room. Ryu takes note of such an extravagant welcoming for an ordinary guy like him. More like a way to trap someone, Ryu thinks. Before opening the doors, the guard warns Ryu not to do anything disrespectful toward the king. Inside, another batch of guards are lined up on both sides of the room, with the king sitting at the center end. Ryu can already feel the intense energy radiating just from the king's gaze. He knows this dwarf is no ordinary being. Judging by the king's aura, Ryu can tell the king's not quite the same level as the Fenrir elder and leader, but this king is definitely up there in the ranks of high-tier monsters. Kneeling down, Ryu gives respect and honor to the king before introducing himself as a beast tamer. The king then goes straight to the agenda, relaying how he's heard from his soldiers about Ryu and his desire to have his clothes made by the king. Ryu takes out the hide from his storage, politely confirming his plans. But the king rudely asks him if Ryu stole the hide he just presented, leaving Ryu stunned by such an accusation. Ryu still remains respectful despite the king's rude behavior. He is the king, but that's not an excuse to be rude. A calm Ryu explains how the hide he has with him is from a monster he hunted himself. Even from a distance, the king can spot the materials Ryu has with him. He doubts that Ryu, a mere beast tamer, actually hunted a top-tier monster. Downright absurd. The forest is even known to be the home of the cursed Fenrir, the king utters. Now this gets Ryu's ears tingling. Did the king just refer to the Fenrir as cursed? This dwarf, who's supposed to be the elder's acquaintance, something's not adding up. So Ryu decides not to mention the elder at all. Apologizing, Ryu further explains that he wasn't alone when he hunted the beast. A friend helped him as well. When the king asks what kind of friends Ryu has, the beast tamer lies about not knowing their name, since they were just hunters. The king grows even more suspicious. This irks not only Ryu but also Ruri. This so-called king has been rude from the start. Ruri is about to lose her temper. Ryu asks that they remain calm. Again, something feels off. This king is supposed to know the elder, yet he has a bad impression of Fenrir. The number of guards surrounding the throne room and outside the room is suspicious too. It's only Ryu, a mere human, and Ruri, his familiar. And let's not mention the disrespect from the very beginning. The king already has an impression of Ryu even when they've just met. Now Ryu is unsure if it's okay to ask the king for his help. The king then makes an exchange with Ryu. He'll craft Ryu's clothes, but in return, Ryu will leave all the monster hides as payment. The king also asks for payment for Ryu's crime of theft. Standing up, Ryu has had enough of this dwarf's belittlement. No pun intended. Ryu then directly tells the king he won't hand over the hides. This starts to anger the king, especially when Ryu points out how he has no intention of striking a deal with someone like him, even if he's the king. The guards are now furious with how Ryu just talks back to their king. Even the king himself has his veins popping out of anger. He doesn't doubt the elder, but Ryu can't take this rude dwarf seriously. He shall listen to his gut for now. Before they know it, the king orders his guards to arrest Ryu. The guards rally up on Ryu, trapping him with their sharp weapons. Ruri immediately asks Ryu to let her handle the situation, but Ryu asks her to stand down. Stirring up trouble with an entire kingdom is not on their bucket list. When the king asks Ryu why he's not resisting, the beast tamer only replies that he knows he can't win against an entire kingdom. After calling Ryu's decision a wise one, the king then commands the guards to throw Ryu and Ruri in the dungeon. Inside the dungeon, Ryu is disheartened with how sourly things became. They confiscated all the hides, for Pete's sake. Even Ruri isn't impressed, still thinking it was a better idea if they fought back. Ryu never really expected the outcome to be like this. He thought they would just get kicked out, and he really didn't want to fight someone who's supposedly the elder's friend. The good thing is Ryu still has the thong with him. The guards thought it was just some trinket and didn't bother taking it. Ryu gets the scare of his life when someone utters "hey" from behind. Turning around, Ryu sees it's a dwarf who's asking what he's doing inside the dungeon. Ryu then explains how he refused to sell the monster hides to the king. The dwarf sighs, seemingly disappointed that Ryu got arrested for such a petty thing. When Ryu asks about his crime, the dwarf looks at Ryu with a deadpan expression before telling him it's treason. The dwarf then details how he only told the king they needed to stop hunting monsters in the Great Forest just to get rare materials, because the dwarfs can't really win against Fenrir. Now it makes sense why the king called the Fenrir cursed and why he was desperate for Ryu's hides. With Ryu's and the dwarf's crimes, Ryu now thinks the king has a really bad temper. Ryu really thought he'd be some great dwarf since he's friends with the elder. Ryu's train of thought is interrupted when the dwarf tells him that the current king is actually a fake. The man Ryu just met is Lord Dwar's identical twin brother, Lord Dolph. Another plot twist that sends Ryu into a state of shock. Anyway, Lord Dolph apparently imprisoned Lord Dwar, brainwashed his advisors and soldiers, and locked them up. Since Lord Dolph has always been in the shadows, no one really noticed the swap. The imprisoned dwarf grew suspicious after learning about the invasion plan for the Great Forest, and here he is, imprisoned for treason. The real Lord Dwar is in a high-security cell deep within the castle, unlike these shabby dungeons. The security in that holding cell is tight, complete with iron doors and an iron chamber. On top of that, there's a curse that suppresses any power, so escaping is nearly impossible. Ryu goes into thinking mode again. This means the elder's acquaintance might be the older brother, the real king. In that case, Ryu must help the real king escape. With this final decision, Ryu gets the Fong out and asks the dwarf to stand back a bit. The dwarf understands what Ryu is trying to do and warns him it's impossible to break Lord Dwar out. Even the real king himself can't break the holding cell. What about Ryu? But Ryu is confident that he can and will do it. Both Ryu and Ruri head toward the dungeon's railings, easily breaking them with their combined strength. It's not impossible if it's Ryu and Ruri we're talking about. Amazed but somehow a bit petrified, the dwarf asks Ryu about their identity. Ryu gladly tells him they're beast tamers with their familiars. Ryu extends his hand, helping the dwarf stand up. Together, they venture out to save the real king. Hiding behind a wall, the dwarf tells Ryu that Lord Dwar is imprisoned at the end of the hall where two guards stand by. The dwarf is still a bit doubtful if they can really save Lord Dwar, but Ryu reassures him they can. They have business with the real king. They'll definitely save him. Ryu then asks the dwarf if he can somehow fight. The dwarf shares he's actually a warrior, but without a weapon, that's sort of impossible. No worries, Ryu and Ruri will take the lead while the dwarf can stay back and keep an eye on things. Before you know it, Ryu and Ruri are already running toward the guards. The guards are now on their feet, commanding Ryu and Ruri to stop or they'll get killed. Ryu doesn't want a bloodbath and tells Ruri exactly that. Their goal is to knock them out. Right now, Ruri's role is to keep them distracted while Ryu attacks them. A guard aims his weapon at Ryu, which he swiftly dodges. Their combat style is totally different from other monsters. Dwarfs move slower, even in comparison to Fenrir. The dwarf's presences and actions are so much easier to read than other monsters too. Ryu easily delivers an attack on the guard's neck, knocking him out in the process. The other guard is swinging his sword at Ruri, expecting to defeat a mere wolf with one swing. However, the guard's sword gets sliced in half. Ryu quickly sees an opening and kicks the guard straight in the face. Now that that's over, Ryu calls the dwarf out. The dwarf is actually surprised to see the two guards completely defeated. Their country soldiers shouldn't be weak at all, but they're no match for Ryu, who's been training hard to get strong. Now their problem is this door. Ryu gives it a solid knock. Yep, that's a solid iron door. It's cursed too. It's impossible to get out from the inside, but what if the curse doesn't affect the outside of the door? Giving it one slash, Ryu is able to easily break the cursed door, revealing Lord Dwar, who's just been sitting in isolation. The real king immediately opens his eyes, asking who Ryu is. The beast tamer immediately introduces himself as a beast tamer. Lord Dwar is indeed surprised that a tamer made it all the way inside his cell. Ryu then shares how he was treated badly by the fake king. Hearing this, the real king immediately apologizes on behalf of his foolish brother. Ryu gets down to business and asks Lord Dwar if he could craft some clothes for him. When the king asks why it needs to be specifically made by him, Ryu tells him about being referred by the elder. This somehow angers Lord Dwar a bit. He doesn't believe Ryu's words since he knows the elder shouldn't have any human acquaintances. But Ryu assures him, even taking out the Fong and showing it to Lord Dwar. Aside from that, there's Ruri, who magically turns herself into a human again. Lord Dwar now believes Ryu, especially witnessing the Fenrir's human transformation magic. Ryu then explains that Ruri is actually the elder's granddaughter, making her solid proof of Ryu's statement earlier. Even examining the Fong, Lord Dwar knows it's the real thing. He then apologizes for doubting Ryu before granting the beast tamer's request. Then they went to the other holding cells where other dwarfs are imprisoned. Ryu immediately gets busy breaking the cells so the dwarfs can escape with Lord Dwar. After everyone is freed, there's only one task left for Ryu and everyone else, to defeat the fake king and take back the crown. However, Lord Dwar asks Ryu to stand back. This deflates Ryu's excitement from just seconds ago. Looking at his men, Lord Dwar explains how he was ambushed before and ended up losing. Today, they'll surely win if they go head-on. So at this point, Ryu and Ruri have done their parts. Lord Dwar knows he needs to finish this battle by himself. It's a mess his little brother made. It's only fair as the eldest to clean it up. Ryu fully understands the king's sentiments and tells them to take care. Lord Dwar then points to the direction of an exit route at the left end of the hallway. The king promises to reach out once they've successfully dethroned Lord Dolph. With the true king's command, every single dwarf cheers out as they run toward the throne room. After they've left, Ryu also tells Ruri they'll head back to the inn for now. As they're walking down the hallway, Ruri hears something nearby. Her ears have picked up the sound of a crying animal. Could it be an animal they've kept for materials? Ruri's not sure either, but they'll have to stay alert just in case. The cry comes from around the corner of the hallway. Leading the way, Ryu prepares to meet the so-called monster. Both Ryu and Ruri are shocked to see a chick lying on the ground helplessly. Crouching to the ground, Ryu tries to touch the little bird, seeing that it looks very weak. However, before Ryu can lay a finger on it, the bird suddenly breathes out fire at them. Stepping back, Ryu and Ruri are astonished to see the little bird angrily chirping at them. This is no bird at all. This is a type of monster. The bird is still lashing out at Ryu. The beast tamer tries his best to calm it down by saying they're not its enemies. Some time later, the bird goes quiet and faints from exhaustion. Ryu finally has the bird in his hands, and judging by the looks of it, it's not injured at all. Ruri believes it's just hungry since there seems to be no signs of food inside the premises. Ryu tries rummaging inside his pockets but comes out empty. Everything he has was confiscated when they got captured earlier. Having no other choice, Ryu decides to take the bird with them so they can feed it outside. They stop by a restaurant and immediately give the bird a piece of meat. It sure can eat plenty for something so small. They're both glad to see the bird looking much more alive now. Ryu takes it in his hands, happy that it'll surely survive in the wild now. He then nudges the bird to go and be free. However, the bird only stares at Ryu before it snuggles into his hands. Seeing this, Ruri isn't happy to see the bird's gotten attached to Ryu now. Ruri then asks Ryu if he plans on making it his familiar as well. The beast tamer says no, he didn't save it for that. If the bird wants to live in the wild, Ryu's fine with that. If it wants to stay with Ryu, he'll gladly take it in. This doesn't bode well with Ruri, who's very jealous right now. She's sure the bird will make the choice of staying with Ryu. The idea has her sulking even more. Anyway, the duo decides to rest at the inn tonight and wait for King Dwar's message. If they don't hear from him tomorrow, Ryu plans on heading to the castle to help him. But for now, they'll recover their strengths. The following day, Ryu wakes up from the feeling of getting squished, like something heavy is on his stomach. Groggily sitting up, Ryu suspects it's Ruri who might have sleepwalked last night. Without opening his eyes, Ryu asks Ruri to move away, but he's surprised to see that it's not Ruri. Instead, it's a giant bird. Ryu screams from the top of his lungs, waking Ruri up because he's confused about the animal on his stomach. Ruri calmly tells him that the bird is the chick from yesterday. Confused, Ryu looks at the bird again. If it's really the chick he saved, boy did it grow big so fast. Maybe it grew by feeding off Ryu's mana, is what Ruri suspects. There are monster species that grow by absorbing magic power, but it's also pretty rare for a monster to grow this fast. Ruri already has a hunch about what this bird is. Before she could say anything else, the innkeeper calls out for Ryu because soldiers are outside. This startles the bird, and it goes flying outside the window. Both Ryu and Ruri can only stare at it as it flies away. A summon from the king is what the soldiers are there for. Ryu and Ruri immediately set off for the castle. The issue with Lord Dolph has been properly dealt with, and the king cannot thank Ryu enough. Before discussing Ryu's clothes and weapon, Lord Dwar calls out his little brother to come out from hiding. Apparently, there's something Lord Dolph wants to say to Ryu. A remorseful Dolph slowly approaches Ryu and Ruri, bowing down as he apologizes for his misdeeds. It's a surprising scene because Lord Dolph's aura has completely changed. Ruri is still a bit angry at Lord Dolph for pretending to be king. The fake king explained how he was just jealous of his older brother, since he's known to be the most skilled craftsman in the country. Because of that, everyone only gave jobs to him. Lord Dolph never got the chance to even touch materials. It was degrading as a fellow craftsman. So Lord Dolph tricked his older brother, telling him about rare materials, and locked him up in secret. Lord Dolph figured if he became king, he could command soldiers and secure materials. People would commission him for work without finding out the truth of his identity. Everything was going according to plan until Ryu showed up. When Lord Dolph saw the materials Ryu brought, he knew they were A-rank to S-rank quality stuff that's never seen on the market or at the guild. Lord Dolph thought Ryu was just an ordinary beast tamer who could easily be blinded with money, but then Ryu wasn't that kind of person at all and refused to sell. that made Lord Dolph think Ryu saw right through his facade. He got overwhelmed with anger and did the awful things he did. Lord Dolph once again bows down, apologizing to Ryu. The king also bows down to Ryu, apologizing for being partly to blame for his little brother's actions. If Lord Dwar had been considerate of Lord Dolph's feelings, none of this would have happened. Lord Dolph disapproves of the king's actions, quickly telling Lord Dwar he isn't at fault. The king then makes the suggestion of having Lord Dolph make Ryu's outfit. When Ryu asks him why, the king details how Lord Dolph is more skilled with his hands than him. Lord Dolph will and can make the best outfit possible for Ryu, and this is also part of Lord Dwar's atonement. He always knew his little brother was a talented craftsman, but because he felt responsible for the orders the king accepted, Lord Dwar never let his little brother touch any of the work. It's only now that Lord Dwar realizes how his actions had wounded Lord Dolph's pride. If he had just acknowledged him from the very start, if they had worked together, this wouldn't have happened. Vouching for his brother's skill, Lord Dwar asks Ryu to please let Lord Dolph make his outfit. Ryu happily agrees with Lord Dwar, earning thanks from the king and a resounding yes from Lord Dolph. Smiling, Ryu tells Lord Dolph that he's being acknowledged by the best craftsman in the country. If Ryu can get a quality outfit from him, he's got no complaints. Lord Dolph can't believe that Ryu would trust him after everything he did. The king sees this as a way to prove to Ryu how terribly sorry he is for his mistakes. Plus, it's always been Lord Dolph's dream to be recognized as a true craftsman. Now is the best time to show his skills with his hands. Lord Dwar looks at his little brother with so much love and pride, telling him how he believes in Lord Dolph's skills. Extending his hand, Lord Dwar promises they'll work together this time around. Tears start spilling out of Lord Dolph's eyes while taking his older brother's hand with firmness. Lord Dolph promises to make Ryu the best outfit in the world. Case closed for the dwarf brothers. Meanwhile, back at Ryu's hometown, his close friends have finally come home. Both Tia and Taiga are excited to go and see Ryu already. It's been ages since the three of them got together. Tia hopes their friend is doing okay too. However, they arrive at Ryu's home only to discover it destroyed.